Yeah. So, life is just like social media is your resume to the world, right? That's what I tell everybody. And then, every now and then that, you're creating your movie and you got to have a commercial every now and then, right? So my commercials are, the R-Bond, the Service Master, the attention to detail, anything that I represent that, makes me monetary value, right?
Yeah,
So
for sure.
that's what I'm trying to do. But the fitness thing was like more of I didn't really want to get into fitness so much as it's kind of turning into that now because all the shit I do online is all fitness stuff. So that's mostly what you see.
Yeah, I
But
have
that
seen
and the
you like
self-help.
you're doing a lot of jujitsu lately and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Jujitsu and then fitness and things like that. So people are asking me like, well, how do you do this? Or like, what are you eating? And so I've been giving them like the Arbonne 30-day thing to start there. Cause most people are at beginning stages where they're trying to lose weight or they're trying to like find just basic functionality. Most people don't care about getting ripped. They just want to feel better,
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
So they're just
that's
like, yeah,
obviously I started working out to look good when I was younger because I was super insecure. But now, I'm older, and
better than me, man.
and now it's just about like feeling good. As we get older, we got to like really keep our body in tune, and like if you're feeling good, your mental is working better too. Because I've noticed like when the times when my back's out and I'm like laid up on the couch, I can't think, man. I'm just like, it's the last thing I want to do is work, and it affects everything. So I've just put so much focus into, so many different things to heal my back, to heal my knees, to heal my mind, just everything. So it's so important.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, lately, I just been trying to focus on mind, body, and faith, you know?
Yeah.
So, I always focused on the body. I was actually focusing on the faith, but no one ever taught me to focus on my mind, like actually think about what you think about.
Yep.
I was discussing that with you last night.
Exactly.
We met at this BNI thing, Chris, and we were talking.
Yeah. He was there last night. So that was cool. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I saw you in the list and I hit you up. I'm like, dude, you coming
Yeah.
tonight?
You need to get Jolt and attention to detail repped in a couple chapters.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. We got to get into it.
Yeah.
I find it in the marketing world that you got to be different, right? You got to find something about you that's just you, right? And that makes you
And
different.
don't make excuses. Do not apologize and do not make excuses. Pick up the phone, call someone and say, brother, let's go have a cup of coffee. I'm going to talk to you about mortgages. I don't give a damn who's in your chapter or if you even belong to a chapter, but there's a definite skill set to it. And after this podcast, Brandon, Nate Mallory and I have a call. I'm pulling him in on a client.
Oh, cool. Right on.
And Nate was the last guest on the podcast.
Do you know who Nate is, Colt?
No.
Oh, okay. So he's a Navy veteran and one of Adam's clients as well. And he was referred to me by Adam. And then I did all his loans. He moved out to Texas and now he's a lawyer. And we did a really cool podcast last week with him.
Nice.
So especially since he's like fresh out of school, he's got all the new info fresh in his head. So it was kind of fun. Yeah. So we'll transition this because we were just kind of talking, shooting the shit, and I figure I might as well introduce you. You're so Colt Curtis. He's the reason why I wanted to have you on is, first off, I've known you for what? How long has it been? Like 5 years, maybe. Initially you were referred to me from Adam. You're a Marine vet, and we did a VA loan for your home purchase. You were having trouble getting that pushed through, and Adam referred me over. We got it done. And then you bought your other property. We got that one done and did some refinances. So not only are you like a long-term client, you're been a friend of mine as well. We work out at the gym, same gym together. You have multiple businesses. It's important for Chris to have different business owners to see different perspectives and mindsets of, not everybody is self-employed. A lot of people work for somebody. And I think it's, it's great to just have your mind open to maybe start your own business, be self-employed. So, and you have several businesses, which is awesome. And, you don't seem to ever stop, dude. You got a lot of energy and you're just busy doing lots of stuff, man.
Yeah. trying to make that money, trying to get, I feel like if you slow down or if you stop, you can't really, it's harder to start up again. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like I never want to be in the position to like step back or like say, okay, like I say sometimes if things become too problematic, because when you get into the business world, you're just signing up for problems, right? So you get a guy like Chris to help you out. But problems are just going to be there.
Chris is also your attorney now too. So
right. Yeah, he is.
We're all connected.
Yeah, he's been great. So yeah, but I think problems are a part of growth. And that's why I personally, like when I promote, I do a lot of self-help on my podcast. I have a podcast too. It's called 45 on the Hour. But in my podcast, I talk about just self-help, like how to benefit from things and how to like think about what you think about, things that just help the average person get through life, and a lot of people I focus on are people with trauma. We've all had loss in our lives. We've all seen, traumatic things. I try to teach people to think about the emotion when it started and see if you can change that, because I believe that people can heal no matter who you are. Are you going to heal fully? No, but I think you can earn and learn tools that could help you get to a point in your life where you feel calm and you feel at peace enough. And I believe in that. I had an episode back when I was like 37. And I've told you this story, I wanted to take my life. I started having panic attacks, anxiety. I have 3 daughters. I have 3 separate moms. I was raised in a divorced family, single mom, not much empathy, not a lot of love, just trying to teach a man how to be a man, and it's really hard for a woman to teach a boy how to be a man. And now I'm raising girls to be women. So, and then my dad, had transitioned from a male to a female during that time, and I didn't have a father around. So, I had some trouble, getting my life together. And I got into gangs when I was younger, just being a knucklehead. And then I went in the Marine Corps, and that's really what fixed me or helped me, because I needed a dad figure. And I remember I was looking for a dad all the way up until about 35 to 37. And then I just kind of went back to religion. And then I just decided, like after going to church often, enough and starting to believe that, I don't need a father. I have one. So that helped for a while, because obviously you have God to pray to and things like that. I believe in God. I'm Christian. But after, thinking about like how other people perceive it, not everyone's like me. Not everyone's going to believe in God. Not everyone's going to have that way. So I was like always thinking like, well, what's another way to help people, So if people don't have that generally in their mind as like a thought process, I always think to people, like you have to think about like, who would you look up to? Like I ask people this even on their podcast, like, Brandon, would you look up to you right now? Would you look up to you, Chris, as a person? And so that's what I think as a man, like, okay, so who do I need to be? If I want to be the person that I'd admire most in my life, well, then I got to be that person.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
And if I wouldn't listen to me, then I have nothing to say right now until I would listen to me. And when you do that, you build up that confidence in that character of that person that just can speak and say anything. If you talked to me 5 years ago, I'd be a completely different person. My words were scattered. I was just getting off of a lot of medication, just trying to figure my shit out. I was confused, cloudy mind, it took a huge turn for the worse when I got anxiety. And I think that's what humbled me,
Mm-hmm.
So back to what you said about businesses and stuff. For me, I like business and I like the problems because I like living in an adversitized like life. I like it to be completely, I like to live a life not full of confusion, but a life that's humbling every day. So I think that the problems consistently come at you with business, and then you're able to like kind of get through them, and it humbles you and it makes you blessed. Like, damn, I got through that. I'm glad.
Were you always like that before the military, or do you think the military had something to do with that mindset? Or
well, to be honest with you, the military took any sort of empathy I had from myself. Because when you go into the military, they desensitize you.
Yeah.
They give you the keys to turn off your emotions, but they never give you the keys to turn them back on. And they take that from you. And they do that as a protectant, because when you go to war and you're taking lives, and sometimes you got to take lives of, innocent people, children, you see a lot of stuff. And when that happens, you get out and you just get out. It's just like, hey, your time's up. Here's your EAS paperwork. Good luck to you. See you later. And then you go on the streets, and that's where a lot of people get confused, because you get a lot of these vets that turn to alcohol. They don't have a purpose anymore, and they don't know how to process their thoughts, and they're dealing with like shit that happened when they were in war, and then they have this crutch on their shoulder where they're like, oh, they should have done something for me, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, they do. They can compensate you. Just file these pieces of paper, Little they know, it takes anywhere from like 3 to 8 years to really get compensated well. But these guys don't really have an exit plan. And there's all these programs out there to help out vets with horses and, go on a fishing trip and shit. But in reality, it's all about how they think and about their heart and about reality of like understanding emotion. So I'm the first vet out there that I've ever seen try to talk to vets about the hard stuff, because most of the military vets that are combat veterans are men, like 98.6% of them.
Yeah, exactly.
And men don't talk about their emotions or their feelings. And we've learned, having females in our lives, that we have to be empathetic. And I think empathy is the biggest change that you can have as a male, is learning how to be empathetic and understanding your own emotions. And some guys like relate empathy to like being a pussy or just being feminine. And I'm trying to dominate that market and saying that it's not about that. You can be a hetero, you could be a male, a man's man, whatever you want to call it. A tough guy even, but you don't have to. Just to have emotion doesn't mean that you're sensitive. And that's what I'm trying to promote.
Yeah, because if you just kind of ignore it, bottle it all in, I mean, that's what leads to disease. So if you're not learning how to have some kind of be in touch with your emotion, you're obviously just setting it aside, and eventually it's just going to lead to cancer, to whatever disease may come up, and anxiety and depression and all that. So I think that's awesome. That's admirable. It's very important.
Thanks. When I first started this, it's funny, man. I get reached out to at least once, if not twice a day, by random people, mostly men. And a lot of women relate, but they're more about like the hearting and the, giving their emotional feeling on that, but they don't necessarily comment. Men, believe it or not, reach out to me more than anyone else.
Yeah.
And they reach out in a way that it's like, man, I'm so glad you said that. I thought I was the only one, And I always tell these dudes, like, life's a mirror, not a window. You know what I'm saying? Like, what you're feeling, I'm feeling the same shit.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is I'm delivering it in a way that it's public. Like, I'm making myself vulnerable, but me being vulnerable also allows me to feel connection. Yeah. Because when we're vulnerable about things that are like really hurting us, or things that we don't feel comfortable talking about, we end up connecting with another individual that's like-minded. Mm-hmm. And when you can connect with someone else, that means that you're not alone. And if you're not alone, then you can move forward knowing that someone else is living the same life that you're living in. Because when humans feel alone, humans don't do well not communicating. That's why in prison, the worst thing you can have is to be put in solitary confinement.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you can't run with your thoughts. You think and you hear things, and your brain plays tricks on you. So it's extremely important to be aware of your thoughts, and self-growth, at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, what I notice is your thoughts are not your friend. I've done training in the past, and this one guy that's always stuck with me, Matthew Ferry, calls it your drunk monkey, because your mind's just going all over the place and you can't control it. And you got to realize, though, that mind, that is not you. And those thoughts will come up, but you don't have to engage in it. If you think, a certain way about yourself, you can say, no, I'm not going to engage in that. I'm going to set that aside. Or somebody pisses you off, you're driving down the road and you get the road rage, somebody cuts you off, and you're like, you can stop yourself. Instead of your mind getting all angry, you can be like, oh, let's reframe this. And, hey, maybe he's in a hurry. Maybe he didn't see me. I've cut people off before. I don't drive perfect. So how can I be mad at him? And those are the ways I've learned how to reframe myself, because when I was in my 20s, I'd get pissed off all the time, and I'd be impatient, and I had to kind of teach myself, how to reframe certain situations. So I wasn't angry all the time. It made like a huge difference in my life.
Yeah. So I suffered from anger my whole life. That's kind of what led me to having these disorders, anxiety, panic attacks, things like that. So what I always tell people is that anger is fear. So if you're angry, you're in fear. And it's important to understand that, because most people that are angry are because they feel the need to be tougher. They feel the need to like react, right? So we're not judged by like what we do. We're judged on by like how we react to things, right? So when you feel angry, what I always tell people is this: I give them a tool. I say, pause for a minute and look at yourself in the mirror, and almost think of like coming out of your body like almost like a spiritual presence, right? You come out and you're looking at yourself in the mirror and like point at yourself and say, why are you angry? Like look at yourself almost like you're puzzled, like almost like you're confused. So if you can imagine yourself like out of your body and you're looking at yourself and you're talking to yourself in the third person, like what is it? Like, is this you? This is you, right? Because you're getting angry because it's an insecurity. You need control, don't you? Or something like that. So my old issue was I used to want control because it's a Marine Corps thing. So the Marine Corps taught me to like demand respect, demand control. And if you don't, you take it by either communicating or force. So that's a militant mindset, because you don't have time to argue. You don't have time to deal with emotions, because in battle, in combat, you have to be extremely receptive on your responses, and they have to be quick, because if not, people die. So you have to know that you're in the real world now, and you're dealing with, not a warlike, environment anymore. So you have to like take a step back and you have to say, okay, well, why are you angry? Like what's causing that feeling? And most of it comes with, for most men, it's insecurity or it's a control problem. And a lot of men feel the need to control anybody. It's like a man thing. We want to feel like we're stronger, and that's where we get our confidence, is typically through strength if we're not educated enough. But you don't necessarily need to have strength to be confident. You don't need to be like physically strong to be confident. Strength is in the mind. It's always in the mind.
Yeah, for sure.
People
nice
have
to be physically strong, but it starts in your mind first.
Yeah. And honestly, like some of the biggest people I respect, like, aren't in shape at all. They don't have any physical presence. I could probably tap them out in 2 seconds if I really wanted to, or hurt them very bad. But just the idea that like makes me sad. Like I would never do that.
Yeah.
But the whole idea is like your mind is so powerful, and like you want to be that person that when you walk into the room, like people feel your aura about you, and that confidence comes from doing things that make you uncomfortable. That's how we become confident.
Sure. Yeah.
So me really well, Brandon, and I've been through a lot of stuff in my life. But those things are like, it's almost like it's like a trial in life. When you go through so much, like you become like almost invincible. You've gone through so much stuff that nothing really hurts you anymore. But you understand that you have confidence to get through the next phase because you've been through things that are similar. So the more times you've been through them, the more repetitive, the easier the confidence gets when you approach that situation again. And that builds character, and I always, when I'm talking to guys, especially like trying to start them over in life, because a lot of guys try to find purpose and they're like, man, I talked to a guy 2 weeks ago about, he was struggling, and he texted me through Facebook and he said, hey brother, struggling real hard here. Thinking about going the easy way out. And I, messaged him. He was an Army vet out of Oklahoma, found me online, started following me. Didn't even know he was a follower. Called him, talked to him. All he was talking about was victimhood. Victim this, victim that. I mean, me. And I told him flat out, I said, you know what? I was like, you're selfish. He's like, what? I was like, yeah, you're selfish. All you think about is yourself. I was like, why don't you do this, bro? Why don't you decide right now if you want to be a human being, right? Or if you want to be an offering? He's like, what do you mean? I was like, you need to decide, like, do you want to be a human or do you want to be like a superhuman? Like something that's like gifted from like a higher presence. Because if you're gifted from the higher presence, it's no longer about you anymore. So whatever you do in life to better yourself, it's all about everyone else. It's about them. And he's like, all right, I see what you're saying. I was like, sometimes we just can't live for ourselves anymore. And if you can't, then you got to know your why. So for me, I couldn't live for myself when I was like 37 and I wanted to end it because I couldn't control my thoughts anymore because I was never taught. Mm-hmm. And Tony Robbins has like this whole elaboration on thoughts and how you don't have to necessarily think about the thought. And if it starts coming at you, engaging negativity is like a normal human thing. Like human beings naturally go to the negative. We do. So you have to like learn to like accept those thoughts, but then like almost like break up a wall. So he talks about always like you see the thought coming at you, you know, you break up a wall in your brain and then you separate it and you just don't entertain it. At first it's difficult, but if you consistently do it, it becomes one of those things where you're able to adapt to it. And then there's like vibrations and things. It's important to like have your vibrations transition from like low to high. So if you're vibrating low, that's why physical fitness is important. Because you probably know as well, like you feel better after the gym, right? You've never felt bad.
For sure. You know, I've always been kind of lower energy my whole life. And which is interesting. So I've always, I mean, I started training when I was 18 and I have to go to the gym. Otherwise I'm just kind of like lazy tired. So that kind of gets me going, you know, breaks up things. And because motion is so key, you know, if you're just kind of sitting around on your computer working all day, you just get tired, you know, and I don't have a very physical job. So, you know, the gym is just as important as brushing my teeth, you know, or feeding myself. You know, it's just a ritual I've had since 18 and I never will not, you know, and again, especially as we get older, it's like you got to keep some strength because when you have, when you start losing muscle and losing strength, that's when you get old, man, you start breaking down. So you got to try not to let that happen, you know, prevent that.
That's the number one reason why people wind up in wheelchairs, you know, in their later years is they lose muscle mass in their legs. They can't properly stand up, support themselves. They can't walk up a flight of stairs.
And
resistance training is the best, you know, cure for it.
I noticed like when my back started, you know, I've had back issues for 20 years and over the last, say 10 years, you know, it just got worse and worse. And until I started doing the right exercises to fix my back, when I started those exercises, you know, and I keep in mind, I go to the gym every day, I'm lifting heavy weights and stuff, but the exercises it took to strengthen my back up were so weak that I just, you know, I had to start from ground zero and like my hips were sore in certain areas that I didn't know. My glutes were not engaging. Like there was so many different things. And, you know, there's so many parts to having strength and having your physical in the right alignment, because you can go to the gym, you can lift bench press, you can do, you know, back pull downs and, you know, even heavy squats. But if you're not still hitting those little muscles that you don't think about, you could still have a lot of weakness within you and start breaking
I got
down.
introduced to the gym in the early 80s and in like the understanding of physiology and exercise and all that was not that well developed. And, you know, we were young guys, so we were not in the gym to, you know, optimize health. We were there because we wanted to kick ass of the football team and look good for the girls. And what happened is a lot of guys, their development was not balanced. And so we saw a lot of kids that I was playing football with at the time or other sports where they were having back injuries. And I had 2 knee injuries. It's just, you know, we didn't know. And, you know, so it's very possible to be very strong in the upper body, very strong in the lower body. But, you know, if you haven't taken care of your back, you know, that's you know, you're building the house on sand. And you try to get up through life without a back.
Right. Me and Brandon are similar in that we both had back issues. I had a surgery on my back. I had a discectomy a few years ago, right, bro? I don't know. I'm not good with dates. Something like that. You're muted again, bro.
Yeah, I think it was like 2 years ago or something.
Yeah, it was something like that. And I was having issues and Brandon was teaching me like, you know, different stuff and he's got a 6-pack and I don't. And so I'm like, dude, you got to teach me how to do this. And he's like, all right, bro, it's this and that. You got to do this exercise, you know, you got to work on this. And so I still do those things, but I do more of like a burpee regiment.
Yeah.
Now, burpees actually help out my abs a ton.
Yeah. I like burpees. I haven't done them for a while, but I do like them. And
yeah,
it can kind of help open your back up too.
But, you know, I do it in a way that I'm not throwing myself down now. If you notice when I do it, I'm like, I squat down and then I go.
Yeah.
You know, I've kind of adopted that. I don't know if that's like a cheat or whatnot, but you know, you're still
you need to make adjustments over time.
Yeah.
Like I won't run anymore. Like I said, I had 2 knee injuries, and running is
no bueno.
Yeah, it's no longer on the menu. Unless I'm being chased by something bigger and scarier.
Yeah.
I'm not running.
Hear you.
But yeah, you need to stay active. I'm going through it with my dad right now. He's pushing 90. He hasn't taken care of himself. He doesn't exercise. He has a hard time walking. He's very unstable. His cervical spine's collapsing on him, which leaves him in a lot of pain. And it's too late. You can't fix that at that age. But then I meet guys in their 90s who have stayed active and somewhat fit, and they're still out there enjoying life. And take your choice. Was it? There's a saying about like you work hard for an easy life, or have an easy life then you have to work. I don't remember how it goes, but the idea is that you're going to pay the price one way or the other. You can either put in the time and the effort and enjoy good things in your life as a result of it, or you can not do it and pay the price later.
Yeah, basically like choose your heart, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like choose your heart.
Yeah, if you tend to like eat well and then work out, like you're not going to be on medication. But if you don't do it, then you might make up time by not going to the gym. So it's like a yin and yang. Like, what do you want? More time in the end? Do you want to feel better? Like, what do you want? Quality of life? Like, what's your choice? But even then, like over my years, and that's why I got into this podcasting stuff, because I got to a point where I needed to make a decision. Like, I couldn't live for myself anymore. Even with the physicality that we were just talking about, all that stuff. Like, none of that stuff like put it in shape until like I started focusing on like mindset stuff. And I'm like totally addicted. Like, honestly, like I want to quit everything and just do that for the rest of my life. I just want to help people.
Nice.
So I got to a point where that's what I'm living for. But at first I didn't know it yet. I saw a quote from Ed Milet. It was not a quote. It was a YouTube clip. And I thank God for this clip because it's actually what saved my life. It was a clip about your thoughts. And it said that 90% of your thoughts are the same as it was yesterday, as the same as it was the day before, and so forth, right? So that leaves like 10% to 8% of your thoughts that you have the ability to actually change daily. So it's like compounding interest, and you're familiar with this because I'm sure you know finance real well, both of you guys, in mortgage and an attorney. Like when you put in 1 cent, eventually it's like a portion of a cent, but it'll add up, and then over 30 years you could have a few $1,000, maybe more, I don't know. So it's the same
30
thing.
days.
30 days. There you go. Yeah. Or whatever that
penny every 30 days
turns into 2 and turns into $1 million. Yeah, I've heard it. So I try to give that analogy to people with your thought process, because I've talked to people, and I'm not a therapist, but I talk to them in a way that it doesn't sound like actual therapy, because therapy is more of like a relationship building where you talk to someone and they listen and they let you figure out your own internal problems and what's wrong with you. I'm more like give them tools. And I don't like necessarily like pussyfoot around their feelings. Like, people need to be held accountable. And that's the first way of changing. And if you can't be held accountable for your own actions, then you're just a victim and you want attention. And if you want attention and not solutions, then you need to go figure that out first and then come talk to me when you're ready to learn. Because if you're not willing to listen, you can't hear anything. And if you're not willing to take action and change habits, then you're never going to find the result. And I think a lot of people struggle with that these days, because a lot of people right now are just very, very sensitive.
The media teaches people to be sensitive, teaches people to be victims. So we got to quit watching TV, quit watching the media. And it's really,
I wouldn't even say it's teaching them to be sensitive. It's teaching them that they should expect the world to give them the stuff rather than sending them out there to go get it themselves. It's like, you should get free money from the government because your ancestors were, enslaved at some point. Well,
when you're handed things in life, doesn't make you a stronger human. When you work for them, it does. When you earn it, it makes you stronger. You learn lessons. You become a better human. But if you're just given everything, usually that makes for shitty human beings.
Here's the worst part about it. is everyone's told you should be given things, right? But they're never given the stuff. So they're just sitting around waiting for it to show up, and it never shows up.
Yeah.
And they think, well, what am I doing here? I'm not getting the stuff that I was promised, and my life's not going anywhere. One of my favorite YouTube clips, Admiral McCraven, is Navy SEAL Admiral, and he did this commencement speech that started with, if you want to change the world, start by making your bed. Mm-hmm. And the whole message was, if you make your bed, you'll have a sense of accomplishment. If everything else goes wrong that day, at least you made your bed. And when you come back at the end of the day,
didn't make that up.
What's that?
You said, you mean so Jordan Peterson didn't make that up?
No, this was McCraven. Somebody else. And his whole thing was, he just took the lessons of a SEAL going through buds, and just kind of built on it. But the message I took away from it was, do the little things, and build up a sense of accomplishment, so that the rest of the day can go to hell, but at least you got some wins in, and then you can go back tomorrow, make your bed again, get the workout in, and then you can go attack the beach one more time and try to do better.
When we get into
you're not going to win every time.
Yeah, you're not. And loss is a part of it. A lot of people don't think that, but loss, and there's good versus evil, there's negative versus positive. They're there for a reason, right? It's to humble us, it's to make us want more quality. So when you have your gives and your goes, those things are building you up, they're building up your character.
And that's when we learn.
Correct.
Exactly.
We don't learn from the wins.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've never grown as a human when things were easy. It's always, when
things
you're
are bad and you accomplish them, you get over it.
Yeah, that's when you have to gut it out, and you have to decide, am I going to get back up again? Mm-hmm. And those losses get bigger as we get older and as we continue on in life. When you're young, it's like you didn't make the football team. Well, you didn't make it this year. Go out next season. But then later, it's like, I lost my wife, my house, my dog, and my kid hates me. Am I going to get back up again? And because the losses get bigger, and the wins.
Yeah, I mean, you both know I lost my daughter, and this is the last 2 years of the most spiritual growth I've ever had, and it's just made me a better human, a better person. I miss her, obviously, and nobody wants to outlive their kids, but there's a lot of good that has come of it as well. So, and
that's I have to say that.
I have to see the good in it, otherwise I can stay at home crying every day and sit on the couch. It doesn't do me any good. It doesn't do the world any good. I got to grow. I got to be better. Look, I'm even putting myself out there doing these podcasts, and this is something I did not want to do. I don't like being in the public eye at all. And Chris talked me into doing this. And so I'm just, in that stage in life where I'm just doing new things, doing different things, learning, growing in my spirituality. And, we'll see where life comes, where life goes with it. So
I'm proud of you, man.
Yeah, I'm glad it worked out for you, Brandon, because the only reason I wanted you to do it is so I did not have to edit video.
Yeah, like I got to find someone that will do this with me. So
yeah, I was like Tom Sawyer in the painting the fence, right?
That's funny.
Yeah, man, I'm proud of you, dude, for doing this, man. It's huge. And honestly, man, podcasts for me is like humbling and it's healing.
Yeah.
And I don't really consider it a job. I don't consider it like anything I need to be paid for or whatever. I don't even care if it turns into anything. All I cared about is if it changes one life a day, bro. If I get if I save one person and someone that was, in my shoes at one time where I was just hoping that there was someone I could relate to, and I can relate to them on a level where like, dude, that dude is exactly what I need to be one day. And he's made it through. And I got no excuses. That dude has 3 daughters, 3 baby moms. He came from a broken ass home. He was in gangs. He got into drugs. He got into gangbanging after. He got into biker clubs. He went to the Marine Corps. He went through combat. Almost died 1,000 times. Almost took his life. And then look at him now, bro.
I know, that's
Like,
crazy.
I'll tell you the story, Cole. I was a young lawyer, like maybe a year or two out of law school, and I had a case with a much older lawyer who I didn't really Norm something. I can't remember his name, but he and I had a case. He had represented a plaintiff. I represented a defendant, and we're trying to resolve it. And he started telling me, we were like on lunch breaks and stuff. He started telling me about being in the, I think he was in the Army, and he was a Golden Gloves boxer. And he was in World War II, and he was in Guadalcanal, I believe it was. Guadalcanal? Anyways.
Yeah.
He said he and everyone he was with were dug into foxholes. And the Japanese would come at him in waves. And they would basically just mow these guys down until they ran out of ammunition. And so they would get down their foxhole so they couldn't be shot and wait for the Japanese to come in, and it was hand-to-hand combat. And he said he beat people to death with his fists, and he used a steel helmet, entrenching implements, whatever they had.
Jesus.
And because I was telling him, Norm, you don't want to go to trial on this. And he looks at me, he says, after that, trial doesn't bother me. And I was like, I got your point. We ended up settling the case, but the idea that I was going to intimidate this guy, he was bulletproof.
Cool.
Some savages out there, man.
But my point is in order to take on all this stuff and have the successes and have multiple business and all that kind of stuff, you probably have an advantage in having faced all the adversity early on. Because
correct.
After that, who gives a shit? What if I start a business, fail? Oh well. Start another one.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
all
the guys who go to the Ivy League schools and work in the high rise towers and have never experienced failure of any consequence. The idea of starting a business is terrifying. Because what if I fail? They don't know what that's like.
People don't really know. And I think that's the biggest skepticism people have of businesses is that it's like nearly impossible, And my biggest thing is I always tell, people that are like self-employed or, they're working for someone else or whatever they're doing. It only takes so many years, and you got to picture 10 years. My uncle used to tell me this. He'd say, hey, for 10 years, your money's not your money when you start a business. So if you start a business, like imagine that's the thing. Just start with 10 years. Every dollar that you have, like put it in the business. If it's an emergency, you take a little bit, but just focus on that. And if you do, eventually it will become your money, but it's not your money in the beginning. And if you can't handle that, then you shouldn't be a business owner, for one. A business is like an infant. When you first have it, it's an infant. It's growing into a toddler, and it's growing into, a child, and then a teenager, and then an adult. And until you get more time in where it can support itself, you can't take anything from it. Now, that's not 100% reality, but that's how you have to think going into a business, right? Because a lot of us just want to take, right, before we actually give. So, and it's the same thing with life. So businesses work the same as life in a lot of ways. Life's all about giving and not taking. You have to give more. But once people see that you're giving and you're like more about them and it feels genuine, people's walls come down. Same in business.
Yep.
If people feel like, hey, I'm here to help you out. I'll do a toy drive. I'll do this or whatever. People want to give you their money. People want to help you grow because they're like, well, that's a good person right there. And it's the same.
Yeah, as long as I've known you, Colt, there's a hurricane in Florida and Colt's driving out there with toys and whatever. Take one of your stuff. He's helping out. Every time something tragic happens, Colt's there helping. And I'm like, damn, how does this guy do this? This is pretty awesome. So, dude, you got a really big heart, man. I see who you are. And, that's why you and I have been friends for a long time now. And, I I noticed that stuff, bro.
That
Thanks,
stuff
bro.
feeds you, though.
Yeah.
It's, I was working with a Ukrainian gal, and her country gets invaded, and she's now technically a refugee. And I flew out there to Poland and just make sure. She had 2 little girls. Just make sure she's going to be okay, and had what she needed because we were working together. So she needed to have computers and the stuff, and that's probably one of the best things I've done in recent time. And it's everybody was telling me, oh, don't do it. This is going to be dangerous, and why would you want to get involved? And but talk about having a why to get up in the morning and say, well, I better get to work because there's people who are counting on me.
If you know your why, you don't need to know the how to get something done. I tell people that all the
You
time.
you figure it out. It's like I need more money in the bank. How am I going to do that?
I always figure like monetary value has to do with like your why. Your why always has to be the greatest. So I always ask people, like, and I do this on every podcast. I always ask, like, what's your why? And you have to state your why. So what's your why, Brandon?
Yeah.
And Chris?
I remember starting my first law firm in my late 20s, and I had no idea what I was doing. Law school doesn't prepare you to run a law firm. I had a business degree. That doesn't prepare you. And all of a sudden I had a payroll, and you realize, okay, I got to pay these people, and I need to pay my overhead, and there's not going to be any money left over for me. So you're watching everybody else get paid except you. And like, I'm supposed to be the boss. I'm supposed to be on top. And it's like, no, you're at the bottom of the pyramid, man. You're the foundational support. You got to make sure everyone else is okay before you can be okay. And that was an eye opener for me. But start a business and.
So what's your why?
Yeah, then people show up and you meet their kids and you see their families, and you're like, all right, well, I guess that's why I'm doing it.
I see what you're saying. But do you have a direct, have you thought about it though? Like, what's the reason why you do what you do? Like, is it for your wife? Is it for...
So the reason I do I'm in the practice that I'm in is because I've watched a lot of people start businesses, especially in California, and the vast majority of them don't last more than a few years. And so what happens is after 3, 4, 5 years, all of your financial resources have gone into this thing, and you've struggled. And in California is the worst example of it, but basically you have a silent partner in every business you start, and it's called the government. They don't invest anything. They don't take on any risk, but they want their piece of it. And if you fail, they're not going to fail with you. So the odds are kind of stacked against you, and the rule book is not written for you. So I've been doing this over 30 years, and I've learned a lot of different strategies, especially like I have a talk that I give to people starting up a business, especially young single guys. This works really well for them. If they have a girlfriend or they get married, it's a problem. But the talk I give them, I call it living by the code. It's the Internal Revenue Code. Because as a single guy, we can do a lot of stuff that you can't do if you're married and you have kids, and they want family, or they want like houses to live in and new car and all that kind of stuff. But if you're willing to modify your life, you can live a tax deductible life, and you can do it legitimately, where everything you do has some business purpose tied to it, and you're writing it off.
Right.
And so if you can get through those first those early years, learn how to work the system, and basically get rid of that silent partner and say, get out of my pocket for a while, you have a chance of making it. And, and I like seeing people succeed. It's kind of fun. You become friends, and then 5, 6, 7 years later, you're at some dinner at like Ruth's Chris, celebrating because the firm just started turning $1 million a month in revenue. And
I love that.
Wow, that was a wild ride, right? Let's go do it again. And at this point in my career, the honest truth is, I don't have a lot of new businesses left in me, and at least not startups. If I do a new business, I'm going to buy an existing business. But starting a business from nothing, I think I'm in my last one right now. I just, I'm 57, so by the time this one gets kind of stabilized, I'm probably going to be in my mid 60s. And the idea of trying to start from zero again, I want to take a smoother path, so I'll probably end up, in fact, if I had it all to do over again, I probably would never have started a business. I would have bought existing businesses because they're already cash flowing. Because the hardest thing when you start a new business is getting that first dollar, the second dollar in the door. And if you buy an existing business that's cash flowing, it's already coming in. Now you just have to adjust it and increase your revenues and increase your gross profit and lead the business. But I hadn't learned that lesson yet. So, so if I can help people, that's what I want to do. Yeah, and that's, I look back on all this stuff on retrospect. I went to a 4-year university to get a business degree that taught me nothing about business. I paid for 3 years of a law school education that taught me little about the law. Most of what I learned during law school was because I was working as a clerk at the city of Santa Clara's city attorney's office.
So what are you trying to say? College is a waste of money?
I think there's a benefit to finding someone who's been there and done it, who is willing to serve as a mentor or an advisor or a coach. And, I was just stubborn. I just thought I knew it all.
I never learned much in school. It was always in the world that taught me everything.
Yeah.
Through doing, doing businesses, failing businesses, starting new ones over again. So,
yep.
Those are my biggest lessons. But back to your question, Colt, like my why is, I think about that and why am I still doing mortgage? There's in my business, there's a lot of people that aren't really great. There's a lot of great people, don't get me wrong, a ton of great people that do mortgages, but there's also the ones that aren't so great. And I've seen those, even you had some issues buying your first property. There were some issues with the house itself, I think. And I came in and I was able to figure it out for you when somebody else couldn't. Like, totally. I live for that, man. I like, if I'm the reason why somebody is able to own their home and I made that difference, like, to me, that's kind of selfish because it's me that's making the difference. But, I live to make a difference in people's lives. Even Angie, my wife, Angela, she started her Events by Angela Monique business, and I help her with weddings on the weekends. And I'm like there for people, and we are just there to make that day so special and so amazing. And I never knew I'd do anything like that, but I actually enjoy it, man. I enjoy being there to make their day so special they'll never forget it, and it feels really good. And I never really knew that about myself, how good it feels to really make a difference and really help people. And, I know it's not big things. It's not maybe super life-changing things in ways, where if somebody else could do it or whatever, but if maybe you could do it just a little bit better, or maybe I can get that loan done where somebody else couldn't, and you wouldn't have had that house without me, or what have you, it just, it feels good to be able to help out, and that's kind of what keeps me going, keeps me waking up every morning, and getting my stuff together and getting going, hopping in my cold plunge and getting my energy up, going to the gym, quoting loans, and seeing where the problems are and seeing where I can figure out the puzzles. Adam Martinez, who's been your realtor, he'll come to me. He's doing loans now as well, and he'll come to me. Hey man, I need your help. I need you to Feco this loan out for me. That's what he calls it. So.
Yeah. Feco.
It's kind of funny. That's his term.
Good. Yeah. The why is important, guys. Wrapping it up here. I mean, I know we've talked for a minute, but I think the why is the most important thing that you got to start with. If you're looking to grow and you're looking to start a business, or you're looking to do whatever it is you want to do, help people, whatever, you got to know your why first, because it's important to know your why. Because if you're going to fall backwards, you're going to be like, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to let my emotions take advantage, and I'm not going to stay disciplined, right? Because disciplines don't have feelings. That's the difference between discipline and emotion. So I do everything by discipline, not by emotion. And that's how I keep my schedule, and that's why I keep persisting on. But when I start getting to that turning point where I'm having a negative thought, and I'm like, you know what, I'm just not going to go to work in the morning. Well, hold on a second. But what's your why? Like, why did you start all this? Oh, it's because of my daughters. Okay. Well, so how are you going to get going? Because you're struggling right now to get up. How are you going to do that? Well, the how just comes to mind because I know my why. And as long as you know your why and they're looking up to you, then the how just becomes that much easier. You're like, no, I got to get up because that's just because my daughters are looking after me, and they're going to.
And one of the secrets is it's not always a how. More often than not, it's a who.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have to figure this out. I got a who. They'll figure it out. Like Brandon. He'll Feco it for you.
When I got into mortgage, kind of like you, Colt, it was for my daughter.
Right. To give her a better life.
Yeah. I was not married to her mother, single father. And I was able to spend a lot of time with her because being self-employed and, not having to do a 9-to-5. And then also I was able to make enough money to support her. And, obviously I've had to change my why in the last couple of years, but that's what always drove me in the past. And now I've just focused on, now it's about just helping other people,
Yeah. And I've learned a lot from everything you've been through, man. It's made me more, I remember when you went through all that stuff, man, it was like, I didn't even know what to say. You know what I mean? Yeah. Not trying to go back to that. Nobody knows. I kind of selfishly put myself in your position. I was like, well, what would I be doing? Like, what do I do? Like, what would I do? You know what I'm saying? And then I thought like that happening made me like change my views on my daughters. Cause I remember you had a talk with me one time and you were like, bro, she needs you right now. You need to talk to her because I wish I could talk to my daughter right now. And I remember I was telling you that I wasn't talking to my oldest. There was like a problem there. And you like stopped me right away and you're like, hold on a second, bro, your daughter is home. Go talk to her and figure that shit out. And then you like kind of like related it. And then I was like, he's right. I'm being selfish as fuck right now. I'm like, I'm being selfish. I need to like snap out of it. Like my daughter's there. Let me go work harder and put that relationship back together. And I did. And it's been good ever since because of what you said.
Wow.
But you
just gave me chills, bro.
Yeah, but you use something that you made yourself so vulnerable. And that's what I've been doing lately, but it's actually helped me grow. And you made yourself so vulnerable in that time to basically like share something that kind of like improved my life. Like you like made yourself vulnerable and then like put yourself out there to like give me something that like made my mind change and had to like revisit everything, And ever since then, that's kind of like why I've been doing what I'm doing, because feel like a lot of people feel like they're just so helpless. But then if you try to compare lives, which I don't compare anyone's life to mine or anything like that, but I do look at people's lives and where they've been and kind of like, okay, well, if he could do it because he's been through all that, then I can.
Yeah.
But my life was so crazy and I should have been dead like 1,000 times. To live through all that, to be where I'm at, it's just a blessing. And I don't believe in coincidences anymore. I just don't, so
No.
I think the reason why I was chosen to go through all that, because I believe everyone's I believe that tragic things happen to us for a reason. It's God's
Mhm.
act, and he's doing that so then you can help the people that used to be. So if you had something tragic, like I had seen and been through all this stuff, I can help people in that situation. I believe that I'm like that gift. I'm that offering. And I believe that everyone's an offering. Everyone, you, Brandon, you, Chris, you guys are all here, and something's been your calling to come here, whether you're on podcasts to try to like meet new people or whatever. The whole point is like, you're here, you're an offering, you're doing something and it's costing you nothing and you're doing it for free. So you're giving. Sacrifice.
Good points. Yeah, no, thank you. And thank you for sharing that, man. That's, you touched me there. Like I said, it kind of gave me chills. So, yeah, honestly, I didn't know what we were going to do on this podcast. I was talking to you because you were a business owner, and we talked mainly about mindset, and we got pretty deep into all that, which I actually think is way more valuable than anything business wise. We all have to really focus on this, and that's the most important thing. And we have to give love out there to the world, because the world's a crazy place right now, and the more love we can give to humans, it's just going to make things better. And we have to focus on ourselves to make life better. The better we are, the better the world will get. You can't make other people, you can't make the world be a different way than it is. All you can do is make you be a better person.
Amen to that, brother. That's it. Yeah, just be a better person. Help others. Be that person that you'd admire most, right? For yourself, and everyone else will follow and attract. You attract what you do often. Yeah. So,
making money doesn't hurt.
It doesn't. But if you become rich and you don't have that self that you'd admire, or that person that's confident, you have nothing. I know a lot of people that are super wealthy that still feel like they have nothing.
Yeah, right. There's no question about it. The dollars are a nice lever that let you do things for other people, and enjoy a little bit of life along the way. It's your life is better with good dental care, and it's like having the dollars doesn't hurt. It'll make things easier. But I've also heard that, I can't remember who said it. It's like that money doesn't. Money just amplifies who you are. If you're an asshole when you're poor, you'll be a bigger asshole when you're rich.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's why you got to focus on this now. And as you grow and earn that money, you can be a generous, wealthy person versus like you said, an asshole. So
people talk about abundance, and that's what that piece of life is about, is having an abundant life so that you can gift other people.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Colt, I appreciate you, brother.
You too, brother.
And this was good, man. I'm just kind of taking it in. So thank you, Chris, again for always showing up, man.
We'll do another one, man. I'll have you guys on or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
All right, guys. You guys take it easy.